Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's your boy Dark with DLD After Dark, and we have a very exciting bonus stream. If I was Ralph, I'd say, fwan, 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 fwan. Bonus stream coming up with a very, very exciting guest. So buckle up and do whatever you do to get ready. So let's go ahead and first start with the first comment of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Slim223. Congratulations. All of you know that that's actually 9mm Slim. But he changed his name because it's easier for me to say. So how kind is that? Rule number one, be kind. So shout out to you, Slim223. You, sir, deserve one crisp high five. Congratulations. And let's go through and say what's up to our channel members. So do me a favor, channel members, sound off before we get started. So we got Goombeam in the house. Goombeam is your one-stop shop for all of your freaky bright flashlight needs. Goombeam is not only a channel member, but he is a genius when it comes to flashlights. I carry my Goombeam Indestructible EDC every day. So we love you, Goombeam. Also, I have an affiliate link with Goombeam too. So holla at your boy if you'd like to use it and support Goombeam and support the channel. It's your boy. We got Robert Ribbit Harrison. What's up, brother? We have Rusty Shackelford, both channel members, I'd like to add. Dang, Robert Ribbit Harrison is getting busy up in the comments. We got T for Tejas. What's up, brother? Another channel member. Too many choices, unfortunately, talking about 40 cal, but another channel member. We got ADXR920, another channel member. And who else we got? Tejas, Goombeam, too many choices. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And guys, forgive me, my internet may be a little bit spotty. That is a terrible description, by the way. Maybe a little bit spotty, but hang tight. We got Mike McClune, another channel member. What's up, brother? Thank you for joining us. We have the ghost of P80 Ralph. Oh my goodness. It's spooky October and we have a ghost in the chat. And let's go ahead and give our what's it called again? God, I forgot the term I always use. Honorable mentions. Thank you. The honorable mentions. We got Slim223. We got the ghost of P80 Rufus. We got your boy, Joe Morris. What's up, brother? Thank you for joining us. Tech Money, salute. He said, wait, it's Wednesday. I know. It is a bonus stream. I know. I usually go live Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, but we wanted to get it in today. And I went live before 10 p.m., y'all. How crazy is this? It's Elliot. This is Archie using his daughter's account again. All right, that's exciting. Timbo Slice, boner stream. You got it. You got it, brother. 40 cal squad, where you were? No one uses 40 caliber anymore. Toy Town Inc., what's up, brother? Thank you for joining us. And interesting, we have somebody here. Hoffman Tactical is here. What? That's crazy. Hoffman Tactical is in our stream. Well, if he's in our comments, maybe he's actually here in person. I'm being funny. Guys, we have a very exciting guest today. The man, the myth, the legend himself. You've seen him on Instagram. You've seen him on YouTube. You've seen him throwing the yeet out of ARs all over the internet. And he's just a blast to watch. And in my opinion, a pure genius when it comes to development, design, and printing. And let's take a moment, show some gratitude, show some excitement, and let's bring on the Hoffman Tactical. If I had the little board Sabar has.
Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on, dude. It's awesome to finally have you on here in real life. Sorry, I may be lagging a little bit, but for the people that are here that don't know who you are, take a moment, just let them know who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
So I think everybody here probably knows what I do, but I do a little bit of 3D printing, 3D printed ARs. So I dabble in a little bit of design work and 3D print a few guns.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. And I got to be honest, I've been watching you forever. I mean, since I knew who you were, and we poke fun a little bit at each other because although I do print, I'm a 80% guy. You're a print guy, So it's like the battle of But hey, anything that helps proliferate the signal, I'm all about it, including printing and even casting things like aluminum, which you've actually had some experience doing, right?
Yeah, very, very long time ago and very limited. But yeah, I have played around with that a little bit.
So what got you into that, and even like the 2A world as it is? Like what kind of was your entry into the gun world?
Oh, well, I mean, I just grew up around guns, so parents are big preppers, so we're lots of guns.
Nice. So I didn't know that. So you're kind of from like a preparation household.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the wrong term, but that's would be the best word for most people to understand. So absolutely, yeah.
So more like homestead, like
Yeah, I think that's a better, that would be a more descriptive term. Yeah, absolutely. So we're off grid, all of that.
are most of your needs met by the land and what's around you?
I don't know most, but a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them.
That's awesome. I had no idea. I could tell you were a super base dude, and you probably like me appreciate things like gardening and
Oh well, not as much as I should.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm the tech guy. I don't run the garden, but
Yeah. Can you give me kind of, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. Can you give me and the viewers like an idea of what the Hoffman compound is like?
like not very many details, unfortunately.
Okay,
But
that's all right. That's cool.
yeah, I mean it's nothing too fancy. It's just very basic, very plain. Not very much concrete, very little razor wire.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Any landmines or anything like that? Just kidding.
not
Yeah.
not yet.
So what do you think you've become most well known for?
AR lowers. I mean that's really it. I mean, very recently my fully printed AR, but that's a very recent thing. So it's just the AR lowers is really how I got traction. I've done quite a bit of stuff actually since I started Hoffman Tactical, but it wasn't until I started printing AR lowers that it really took off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that thing. When I look at your fully printed AR, I think it's dead sexy. I don't know.
And check out that cool matching Dynaxis mag.
I know, right? He made that especially for you, right?
Yeah, he just mailed it over. Excellent service.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah, matches quite well.
Dynaxis, the Mag Project, and he's
Yeah.
the homie. He's awesome. So what material are you using mostly? Are you using carbon fiber nylon?
Well, the majority of the actual printing I do, as far as like prototyping goes, I use the Polymaker PLA Pro for most of everything. As far as functional prints go, recently I've been using like that upper receiver right there. The entire upper is printed from the Polymaker PA12 carbon fiber nylon, which I've been extremely impressed with. Actually, it's pretty impressive compared to other carbon fiber nylons. However, it's ridiculously expensive. So I ordered, I think it's from Slovakia was where the company was located, but I bought it's Fiberology. It also makes, they're a European-based filament manufacturer. They make a PA12 with 5% carbon fiber, and then they make one with 15% carbon fiber. So I actually just ordered one of the rolls with 5% carbon fiber, and it's similarly, it's like $80 a roll. So it's much lower cost, and it's a similar price to the any other carbon fiber nylon. So I'm hoping it'll be a much more economical alternative to the Polymaker until Polymaker gets their prices down.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm using now for my functional prints.
So that's not bad at all. So if somebody out there like me who has like a stock ender, put $100 into a direct drive, all metal, hot end, setup, and $80 on a spool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you shouldn't even. I mean, I want to experiment with that myself. You should really only need an all metal hot end, basically a new heat break, and then
That's true. Doesn't
I,
it doesn't necessarily have to be direct drive.
yeah, you should be able to run it on a boat and fine. I haven't done it yet though, so I'm not 100%. I would like, but definitely like to try.
Yeah, dude. I got to tell you, I've been really, really tempted to get into the exotic filaments. I've even had a couple folks often offer to send a an all metal hot end. What do you think about like the polycarbonates though?
So I actually use a lot of polycarbonates for smaller parts. However, the problem with polycarbonates is number one, they do warp a lot more than nylons. They're hard to print with, and then the other problem is they don't have nearly as much impact resistance.
Mm,
Just especially if you go with the carbon fiber polycarbonate, which does print much more easily, much better overhangs than an unfilled polycarbonate. You're really suffering from impact resistance problems. And also I've had issues with cracking, stress cracking, like due to fatigue. I'm not quite sure why actually, because polycarbonates are very strong. And that's why I use them. They're
yeah.
strong, they're stiff. They do not have the hydroscopic problems that PA6 nylon 6s have. However, they're not as durable. I've used several different ones and I've had similar experiences with all of them. They absolutely have, they're very useful material. Just I don't think they're the best for large parts like AR lowers or pistol frames or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's optimal.
So you could, if you're selective in what you're using it for, the filament does have a place. You just kind of have to be particular about what you're printing with it. I guess maybe smaller
Exactly.
parts.
You just have to understand its limitations. Polycarbonate has good temperature resistance and it is strong, good temperature resistance, good layer adhesion actually. It tends to it's more difficult to print, likes to warp, and has poor impact resistance compared to a good nylon. So
Yeah.
and compared to PLA plus, for example. So that's just things to keep in mind. I've had polycarbonate AR lowers crack
Really?
over time. Yeah, I've never had any nylon lower fail. So and just in impact testing as well.
You've never had any carbon fiber nylon lower fail at all?
No, I've never really had any carbon fiber nylon parts fail. I'm trying to think about that. I mean, I've intentionally broke stuff, but never a lower. No, never a lower.
Wow.
So,
Dude, that's intense.
It's just, well, I mean, it's pretty, it's good stuff. I mean, PLA plus, you won't have, I've never broken PLA plus lower either. That was, properly printed and reinforced. I've broken ones that didn't have host lamps, for an example, but once it's properly reinforced, if you would print a U-bar, a Firebolt, one of my lowers in a good PLA plus or good with carbon fiber nylon, it's not going to break on you. They're strong. So,
That's kind of the interesting thing. I would say that the majority of the challenges we have, like when you hear about people's prints failing, or even some like nearly catastrophic failures, I think a lot of us kind of have to like back up and look at our settings, look at our are we having issues with our extruders, or we have like, I think a lot of the issues that don't necessarily come from the filaments that get blamed for issues. It's typically human error, I would say.
Yeah, Kemi, the filament is definitely, some filaments definitely have problems. Mainly with layer adhesion. There are some filaments which for weird reasons just don't have, there's some PLA pluses have really poor layer adhesion. And I'm not actually sure why, but yeah, mostly it has to do with print settings. You can use a lot of different filaments and have them work. Like, if you use PETG, you're probably going to have a problem because it has such bad impact resistance. It'll break. But yeah, Ralph says Prilene polycarbonate carbon fiber. Yeah, I've seen several people have emailed me. I've seen on social media where they're actually having really good performance. So I haven't tried it yet, but I'm actually going to buy a roll of the Prilene stuff and try it just because I've seen good performance out of it. So maybe the Prilene is really high performing stuff, and it's not that expensive, I don't think. So it could be a good option for lower cost filament. What does the Prilene cost?
That's what I was going to ask. I could probably look it up real quick. Ralph,
I think it's right here. It's less than $50 a kilogram. So yeah,
Well,
it's not expensive. Yeah, I definitely want to try the Primeline because I have seen the videos on social media. I've seen pictures people have sent me, and they've had really good results, good layer adhesion. So yeah, yeah, Ralph says, yeah, it's like $50 a kilogram. So yeah, that might be a really good option. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I'm excited to do so. So
nice.
maybe it's a
Wow.
polycarbonate that really performs well.
Yeah, I'd like to look into that. I still think, just for me personally, I would like to spend some more time with PLA Plus, and uh, I guess kind of like earning the right to move into other filaments. I just want to spend more time kind of mastering the craft. Like I look at it as like being a student, and I'm young in the printing game.
Well, hey, so am I. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess we all got to keep the heart of a student. What are some of the craziest things that you've printed? And they don't have to be firearm related, but what are some things that are crazy that you're
well,
proud of?
let's see. I wouldn't want to talk about the craziest ones, but um,
Legal crazy.
yeah. That was a joke, by the way, for those
Of
of you who
course.
are watching. Obviously, I haven't printed anything that crazy,
Yeah.
obviously, but crazy. I mean, let's see. I'm trying to think. I printed some parts for a little sailboat once. They were pretty big, hefty, big, chunky parts. Just
Well,
to
for
hold.
like a real sailboat.
No. For to retrofit a kayak with a sailboat sail.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so
crazy.
those were. I mean, they were pretty big. They were just bigger parts than you would normally print. They were like 8 inches by like 4 inches, full, big. They were pretty low infill, but big PLA plus parts. I actually
That's
printed those
awesome.
in. That's the most eSun PLA plus printing I've ever done.
What? That's what I was gonna ask. Is the infill? What infill were you printing at?
Oh, probably well variable infill depending on where in the part I needed infill, but like 25%.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Okay.
not that much, but yeah, that was a kind of a weirder part. I actually have a picture of it on social media from way back when on Instagram. No one ever saw it though. So that was a big part. Everything else is really firearms related. I mean, I've done some odd and ends type weird little parts. I've done parts for things I built, but most of the interesting stuff I print is firearms related. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, like looking through your Instagram here. Let me go back to share. You got some beautiful prints, man. I mean, this stuff looks like
yeah, so I mean,
injection.
that's carbon fiber nylon on a Prusa. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really that's PLA plus. Yeah, the prints come out really good. Consistent filament, good print settings, and a good machine, and it turns right through. So I mean, that's not really me. That's the machine doing that. Once you
Yeah.
get it set up, it goes right along.
Yeah. Man, that's beautiful. Which filament is that?
That is the Polymaker PLA Pro. So I actually kind of color code my prints now. So I do use just plain PLA for low infill prints, and I
Hmm.
use Polymaker, and I use a Push Plastic brand as well. And I use one of those is, I think I use a teal, and I have a bright blue and green in here. And then all of my PLA Plus prints, I've been printing those out of gray, so I know what filament it is after it's printed. So I can go back through my big bin of my drawer of earlier prints, and I can know what it's printed out of. So if it's gray, it's probably PLA Pro.
Nice. Yeah, that's actually really smart. What um, thinking back to the beginning, like when you first got into printing, what was one of the first things that you printed?
Let's see. First, let me think through that. I mean, I printed some interesting things. I printed some example prints off the SD card. So I bought a Prusa as my first printer, actually. So it has a few example prints in the SD card I printed, and then I printed. I'm trying to think what the first project I would want to talk about. Let's see. I did a magazine carrier. I would say would be the first. Would be the first big thing I did. It was the lightning load. It was it went on your Molly vest, and it held an AR-15 magazine. It had a latch in it. It was pretty involved. I got up like version 6.2, I think, but it never caught on. It was a pretty bad idea, pretty bad
Wow.
implementation. So I moved on. But that was probably the first thing.
So hold on,
Pretty
is that something that you developed?
yeah. It was my dad's idea actually from way back when for M14 magazines.
Okay.
So I just took the same idea and applied it to AR-15 mags. I mean, it worked, but the problem with using plastic carriers to hold your magazines is they're not very dense. So it's hard to get a lot of magazines in your vest, and then they kind of shake around and knock against each other, and it's noisy and stuff. So it's not a very good solution. But it was a really interesting design process, and I learned a lot about designing for 3D printing. So eliminating support material where you can, all of that.
So that's interesting. So you basically came in and started like CADing right away?
Yeah, so I already had a little bit of CAD experience before I got into 3D printing, doing just kind of little odds and ends and stuff, architectural stuff, and a couple other little things. So I already knew the basics, and then I got right into it, and I've kind of it was I was very, very basic CAD skills back then. But yeah, so I kind of jumped right into. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I jumped right into CAD design, and I've actually printed very few files I've downloaded off the internet. So
wow,
most of what I print is what I design. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun actually when I download stuff and print it, because it's all the work's already done for you. So it's
yeah. Have you ever printed a file that was pre-sliced for you?
That's funny. So I actually I never have. Though I have a file which the 3D Print General sent me for printing on the IDEX printer on the Soval for printing a pistol grip. He had sliced. I said just send me the G code and I want to print that. And I'm actually I'm going to print it probably tomorrow. So that will change tomorrow. But up until now, I never have.
That's crazy. I'll tell you, man. As a novice, I mean, being able to get the G code and just take it and go print is like a game changer, especially. One of the challenges when like you're kind of younger in the game is like getting your settings right and kind of losing confidence. And I think there's a lot of printers out there that are not being utilized, right? That are not really.
I agree. Yeah, I've been that way. So I think a lot of that is just the lower end printers like the Ender. While they're very capable machines, they're not easy to use. It's the facts of the matter. They require lots of understanding how the process works to get them going. So I think that has a lot to do with it. When I bought both the Soval SVO4 and my Ender, both of those printers, I got them, I assembled them, I messed with them for like half a day, and then I let them sit there for like a month before I picked a full day to get back, set them up, and actually get them running. So that's because they weren't super easy to use. Printers like as much, and I know Prusa gets a lot of hate for being extremely overpriced and not having that much, giving you very much more than cheaper printers. They are ridiculously easy to use. Like I know the new Bamboo Lab, which looks like a super cool printer. Yeah. One of its big things is how easy to use it is. Well, the Prusa is actually at the same level as ease of use. It doesn't have nearly the same level of performance, but it's actually a plug and play machine. Like it comes, you start it, it's ridiculously easy to use. You never have to worry about all the calibration. You never have to worry about bed leveling. So that's how I got started. So I think that was really helpful for me getting started in 3D printing. I started with the Prusa, which was just super easy to use. So I could jump right into doing design work, learning about slicing, all of that, not having to worry about fiddling with my machine and getting it working. So I agree with you on that a lot of printers sit around because that jump getting into it is intimidating.
Yeah, and looking back, and Risky Krisky is in our chat. He's a fellow content creator. He has a really great channel. You guys, if you guys haven't checked him out, take the time to check him out, man. He's a GWAT guy and gives a lot of great like tactical information for things that may be useful. Hopefully not in the future, but you never know. So check him out, you guys. So I think looking back, like you mentioned when I first came on, you were like, oh, you're at a different location, right? Before I moved, I had my printer like spot on. I mean, this thing was running like a champ. I loved it. I printed every which way, like rails down, rails up. I was printing grips. I was printing, I printed some Danny Meatballs stuff. I was just having a blast. And after a while, I was like, man, I got to step my game up from this red eSun PLA Plus. And I was like, I'm going to get something else. So I got some black Duramic and some of the blue, the denim blue Duramic. This stuff is awesome. Love it.
Oh, okay.
But my printer was literally like tuned beautifully. It was running great. The bed was like, I mean, it was perfect. Didn't have one issue. Then I moved, got to my new place, and everything was, it was like starting from the beginning, and my
So
printer was down for weeks.
what were the symptoms? What problems were there?
So initially I thought it was a bed leveling issue. So I spent way too much time.
Were parts popping off the bed, or?
So I wasn't getting good first layer adhesion. Then I thought it was, I had to go back to files I had previously printed so I can kind of use them as like a
benchmark.
Yeah. And I thought it was an issue with my bed because I wasn't getting good adhesion, and I was like just tossing filament. I was getting spaghetti over and over, and I found out that although my bed wasn't leveled perfectly, it was pretty close. I changed filament colors, and the Bowden tube wasn't all the way plugged into the extruder, so I was getting extrusion issues, and it was kind of like spattering as opposed to like
I've had similar issues. So the chronic problem I have is basically it's like a nozzle clog. The filament sort of backs up into the Bowden tube and clogs, and I have to unclog it like every other print. That's the problem I've been having. So just today, I took my whole hot end apart, thought about maybe putting, I have a V6 hot end laying around, so I thought about putting that on there, but I don't have the time to work on getting it all set up right now. So I just put the old one back on with a new Bowden tube, and I just finished a print up in the very top layers of the print. I could see there was some under extrusion due to that problem. So I'm not sure why it's an issue, but I know exactly what you mean there. It's just, that's the thing. There's just little finicky things like that that have to be troubleshooted and fixed. That can be a pain.
Yeah, man. It actually took me a long time to figure it out. And I guess I assumed everything was okay, and that it must have been my bed because of physically moving the printer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But man, I was wrong. But as soon, like the moment that so one thing that people out there, this may help somebody who may be experiencing the same kind of things. If you take a Sharpie and score the Bowden tube exactly where it is on the tube when it's properly connected to your extruder and your, wherever it may be, on the hot end side or the extruder side, that will be your mark to see if it's kind of walking out or if you don't plug it back in correctly. So that kind of helped me. And the moment that I, let me see, the moment that I finished fixing that issue, I printed, or no, was it
a V3 frame?
No, actually, the here, I'll take this down for a second.
Make this big.
The what people are calling the Freedom frame, it's the Rook frame from Freedom Co. dev team.
Okay, yeah,
dude, this thing is money. And the I love how it's like two textures. You have the stippling, and then you have this like rough texture up here. Yeah, it's really cool, man. And just the kind of the look.
Does that use P80 rails?
It doesn't. This one uses the DD or the FMDA 19 rails.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But I believe, well, if people are interested in a P80 version, they may want to keep an eye out for things in the future. I think I can say that. And also I did another MAV9 because MAV9s are fun and functional, and they feel good, man. I like them. And every single one that you print, it prints a magwell too, so it's a blast. And also, I had to print something for my daughter, so I printed a little.
I've printed some articulated snakes before. Those are always fun.
Yeah, it's cool. It kind of brings back the kid in you, Now, you had said when we hopped on that you were possibly mentioning a project that may or may not be firearm related. Is that something you can talk about, or not yet?
It's nothing that people would be interested in, really. Yeah, it's still we're still working on it. It's a storage device. I'm actually working on it. It's an old project my dad was working on many years ago that we're kind of revisiting. So
Okay.
it's actually we're trying to work on some injection molding with it. And
Really?
for all the 3D people out there who think 3D printing is impractical and too many limitations, try designing a part for injection molding. It's very limiting.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Lots and lots of design rules. You'll enjoy 3D printing.
So I understand that you have some experience with injection molding and some experience with casting. Did you visit that first before printing?
No, okay. So I don't really have. I'm just working on injection molding stuff now, so that's very new to me. The casting stuff that was well before 3D printing. I wish I had a 3D printer when I was working on it because I was making patterns out of wood and all that stuff, which is
wow.
very time consuming. 3D printing really makes that easier. So that was kind of I kind of wanted to make that a business possibly, but it just never really worked out. I got into 3D printing and that was way more successful. So but yeah, I did aluminum casting, a little tiny bit of playing around with copper a little bit, but nothing really successful. But I just made just a few basic kind of ornamental parts. Nothing too functional. I made some electronic enclosures, I guess would be the most functional part. Some seriously heavy duty electronics enclosures.
Really?
Little ones, yeah. For motion sensors. But yeah, that was an interesting experience. Something which if you have the resources to play around with it, and a spot you can do it. We're just trying out metal casting is definitely worth doing. It's a very eye-opening experience. It's a lot more involved because one of the most common suggestions I get is why don't you just try to cast the lower out of aluminum, right? And and yes, it's something what I want to get into is vacuum investment casting. So it's pretty expensive, but you can make, using resin printed patterns, you can make some ridiculously detailed parts for far cheaper than you could make them with like a direct metal laser sintering printer. So you can make, very detailed, brass, aluminum, non-ferrous, lower melting temperature parts. It's used for jewelry mostly, but it's a really interesting process, and it just requires, a relatively expensive setup. It's not too expensive actually, but that's what I like to get into. What I was doing green sand casting. So I had patterns and I forget the terminology now, but yeah, you have two different halves, and you have sand with a clay mixture inside, and you create a mold and pour the metal into it, which works, but it's not that detailed.
So were you dealing with like air pockets and like what is it? What's it called when you get like those bubbles?
Air pockets is a big problem actually. If you're when doing sand casting, there's a lot to it. If your sand is too wet, you get steam bubbles. If your sand is too dry, it won't stick to itself. Kind of the idea behind green sand casting, the sand is porous, and that is what allows your gas to kind of vent out and your part to fully, and your mold to fully fill. Otherwise, you'll trap air. You have to add little venting holes. It's kind of an art. There's a lot to it to get good parts, and I was definitely extremely amateur. I still am.
Gotcha.
But
what were you doing with the copper?
I was trying just to make. I ended up making. I never actually got any parts successfully cast. But I was doing some copper aluminum alloys. So it's called aluminum bronze. It's actually an interesting material. It's very wear resistant. It looks like gold. It's a pretty cool material. And I just tried out. I ended up making like a little distorted little block of it. I just couldn't. I was using a wood fired furnace. Was the problem. I had a kind of a mud clay wood fired furnace, so I just couldn't get hot enough to consistently melt copper.
So I've seen a bunch of guys doing that on YouTube and actually using.
It's become popular, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I mean that shit. It gets hot, like.
You can get up with charcoal. I actually had really good results, but the problem is making charcoal was a lengthy experience. So
You made it?
I made the charcoal, and so I normally just pine basically. Pine burns quite hot. It burns really fast, so you have to continuously recharge it. I mean, you're burning like big pine logs, like this big. You split it up in little pieces, shove it in the furnace, and it burns up in like 3 minutes. It's like an incinerator. But you can probably get about, I mean, you can consistently probably get 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, and if you really adjust your air right and get a good dry fuel in there, you can get up to close to 2,000. So I was able to melt a little bit of copper, just start melting it around 2,000. But copper melts, I think, at 1940, around there, 1950. So yeah, it's a really interesting process. I think it has tons of applications. And nowadays, you can buy for a few $100, you can buy little electric melting pots that have graphite crucibles and everything in them, which they're not super big, but you can melt. I think you can melt like a pound or a couple pounds of aluminum. So you can make small detailed parts. So I would like to get into that and then just do more precision castings. I think that would be super useful just for prototyping.
Farming. I looked it up after you mentioned it. Sorry, I'm sorry. There's a slight delay. I think I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, no problem. Vacuum investment casting. It's a really interesting process. Requires some equipment, but it's pretty cheap. Electric, just get an electric melting pot. It's clean, and you can make all kinds of detailed parts. Now, casting lower receivers, that's a complicated part to be casting. Yeah. It's not. It's to make one. You're probably still going to need secondary machining. It's just not nearly as straightforward and simple as a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of very, very fine details, and the companies that are out there cranking out like an ass load of 70, 75 aluminum, uppers and lowers every single day. I think you guys would be surprised to learn that most of the uppers and lowers that you guys get from a company weren't actually done by the company whose name is stamped on it.
Yeah. Well, there's not very many companies who actually. So AR lowers, most of them are cast and then forged, from my understanding.
I think so. Yeah.
So you cast them, you then forge them if you're a reputable company, and then you machine it. So they're mostly machined. They're just casting the blank, which saves on metal and saves on machining time. So it's a lot of machining time. So that's definitely worth doing. But they're not casting the whole thing as a single piece.
Yeah. Somebody asked, is that known, what we were talking about prior, is that known as Vikings gold?
I have never heard that before, but it might be. It definitely looks a lot. It's much more yellow looking than brass or bronze. Brass and bronze are more, coppery red, but it looks like gold. Smells like copper though, so it's obviously not gold.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a cool material, which is very, very rare actually in the modern world. Not really used much anymore.
Saro is one forge. Okay, that's what's up. Tactical Turkeys, thank you for joining us. They also have an excellent channel, and they're actually coming out with a bunch of cool firearms. So check them out, guys. They're awesome.
Huh.
Now I know I promised that I would only keep you till 10:30. So
yeah, we're about to go a little bit further because we've barely gotten started. What time is it now? Oh my gosh, it's like 10:28 now.
Yeah, no.
Quick.
Here we'll do a lightning round if you're cool with that.
What is that?
A lightning round is where I ask you rapid fire questions and you just give your first gut response.
Okay.
You down with that?
Sure.
Okay, cool. AR-15 or AR-10?
AR-10.
Okay.
Why not?
Just out of curiosity,
I don't know. I have both and shoot both of them. So
yeah,
it depends what you're doing, I guess. If I had to grab a rifle this very second, it would be the AR-10. It's the best gun in the building. If I was somewhere else, I'd probably grab the AR-15 because it has lasers and everything on it. It's better equipped.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
the accessories on the gun make a big difference.
So somebody asked me the same question, and I was like, I can't. I just said yes because I was like, man, they're purpose-built tools.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely quite a bit of overlap there, but for a lot of stuff, an AR-15 is better just because you have more ammunition, recoil is lower, and it's lighter. So
yeah, speed.
But it's not it's not 308. So
yeah, are you equipped with the night vision, sir?
I am. Yeah, I must admit, I do use night vision. Yes.
Okay, PVS 14 or PVS 31s?
PVS 14. I'm not that wealthy. I wanted to
Okay.
get. I prioritize better tube for one eye rather than a lesser tube for both eyes.
Is it a white phosphorus?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice, dude. Hell yeah, that's awesome. Okay, for
IR
side,
lasers, Ralph. IR lasers, not visible lasers. Just throw
yeah,
that shit on there. Okay,
I
yeah.
I think Ralph knows what IR means.
No, he does. Oh no, he does. I know, but I think I've said bad things about visible lasers in the past, probably.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably razzing Ralph, knowing me.
yeah.
So.
Razzing. Oh, that's an interesting term to use.
Oh, have you ever never heard that term before?
Well, so the reticular activator in your brain is referred to as the RAS.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
a term I've heard used.
So it's funny because I brought this up, I think, on like the last stream, where if like somebody's ever like let's say they purchased a vehicle
Yeah.
and they've never really seen it around, right? But the moment they buy one and go hit the road and drive, they start seeing it everywhere, right? That's your reticular activator in your brain that's starting to, have more of a conscious awareness to something. So it's funny that you use that.
Oh, that's interesting. I use it. It's kind of poking fun at in like a friendly way. Is
Yeah,
kind of, I guess, the way I use it.
yeah, that's cool. I was just curious. That's cool. Okay, as far as a knife, fixed blade or folder?
I used to carry a fixed blade. I now carry a folder inside of a multi-tool.
Okay. A folder that's part of a multi-tool?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What kind of multi-tool?
It's an old Gerber. This
Nice.
little guy. The knife actually is horrible. The accessories are all horrible, but this is like the best designed and shaped pair of pliers I have. So it's just the new ones are all made in China, I think. But if you get on eBay and look for old used ones, you can still get the US made ones, and they're really nice.
Yeah.
Way better than a Leatherman.
Is that the slider? Is that the pliers?
The way these work is you flip it and it comes out like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Dude.
I've carried that for, I don't know, more than a decade. It's
Dude, that's awesome. I like that.
That's something everyone should be carrying. They really are handy.
Yeah, man. Multi-tools are the shit. Okay, so Glock or SIG?
Okay, so Glock. I am not happy with Glocks. I want another pistol, but so far I've my carry pistol is actually a little Ruger LC9. Only because I haven't printed something smaller yet. I need to. It's an embarrassing fact that I carry a not printed pistol, but I'm going to fix it. So,
ooh,
I know.
I was not expecting that.
You deserve. I deserve to be just downtrodden for that, but I'm going to fix it. So, as far as printed guns go, I've only done Glock 17. That's all I've done. I would like to do some other guns as well. I want to do like maybe a smaller, like a Glock 43, something more compact as a carry gun.
I would highly recommend the 43X if you buy a 43 slide. Mm-hmm. Man, those shield arms. Man, so I carry the 43X, and
that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, 20+1 in the gun, and right next to it, the 15 rounder, the shield arms mags. These things are incredible. Love them. Okay. Actually, you know what? I want to ask you a different question. For where we are in the world today, I would like to hear like Hoffman's overall view of where we are in the world politically. Are we headed towards danger, perhaps nuclear danger, or like where do you see us headed as a country?
Yeah. So I the international situation, I don't think there's a huge nuclear problem, but I really don't know. I mean, that's hard to predict. As far as on just a national level, we're going in a really bad direction. So prepare to be swatted. I guess will be.
Oh, I think I lost you for a sec. You still there? Did I lose you? Uh-oh. Do I still got you? Can you guys hear me? Dude, I have no idea what happened. This is crazy. Hold on. So it totally froze me out too, though. Hang on. Ah, there we are.
Yeah,
Sorry about
StreamYard looked like it crashed there for a second, actually.
Yeah. See, I thought it was my internet, but actually it was
Nope,
probably
both
StreamYard.
ends. Yeah, that's
That's
interesting.
crazy.
Yeah, they went down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah,
So
political
you had
stuff.
said,
Yeah,
was it?
we're definitely moving towards 2030. You will own nothing. You'll be happy. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah,
But a
yeah,
very bad direction as far
yeah,
as everything being rented by large companies, government controlling everything. It's not a good direction we're going in.
yeah. One of the things that we talk about on the channel is just for people to, find their way to true freedom and independence. Water, food, shelter, and security are basically rented to
South
us by the
America,
government.
yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have the ability to truly be self-sufficient. So trying to, get your life back and gain independence as much as possible. And I've talked to people that even like live in apartments and have gardens on their balcony, and there's a bunch of things people can do to try to be as self-sufficient as possible. And I believe that's the way. I'm not there yet, but every couple of years I take steps to head in that direction. So I think the idea that a Hoffman compound exists is just really cool. It makes me appreciate you even more.
Yeah. So another problem just in general with the world is the discrepancy between civilian weapons and military weapons. It's continuously growing larger and larger compared
Okay.
to so in 1900 the difference between civilian weapons and military weapons was actually pretty small compared to what it is nowadays. So
Yeah.
that actually could change pretty quickly, but there's a few different technology things which need to be overcome. So that's another problem as well, is the centralization of power because of that.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting if you look back to let's say like the last 200 years. There was a point when, like, looking at muskets, civilian muskets were actually more artistic and better wood and better metal.
Well, and
Whereas
that's because you were limited to small arms and then rather crude artillery, which was
yeah,
not that expensive. Nowadays, small arms are actually not that important.
yeah,
From a military perspective, small arms are, I mean, obviously still very important, but compared to what they used to be in the past, they're not that as crucial.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I
mostly,
agree.
it's mostly autonomous guided weapons with explosive warheads is the modern warfare, which
Yeah,
I think is highly underexploited in the civilian world.
yeah,
So electronically guided, artificial intelligence type stuff, once developed, could be manufactured extremely low cost from open source design. So that's something that would be very interesting to work on.
yeah. No, I think that's very true, and I think one of the things that I've been open about is I think people should study and get intimate knowledge on energetics. I think that's
Yeah. So energetics just do have a lot of issues though on a small scale.
mhm.
I think the guidance systems is really the most important area that should be focused on, really,
Yeah,
because with
uh,
enough precision, you don't need much energetics, really. I mean, strictly, this is of course all strictly from a hypothetical position, obviously,
yeah, of
but
course.
yeah, I think precision guidance is the most important area.
So can you give me like an example, like a laser guided like drone
No,
or
nothing, not so more of like an autonomous, even something as crude as like an autonomous tracked vehicle. But when I say autonomous, guided by onboard sensors only. So navigating with camera, basically with a camera only, and you're getting into very complex vision systems, you know, machine learning stuff, which is all being developed currently. It's in existence. It just has not. It's just not on the hobbyist level, basically. And I'm guessing that a lot of it is not going to come down to the hobbyist level unless we create it down here. So I think that's really on any level, just systems that are not dependent on GPS, systems that are not dependent on radio triangulation. So stuff that uses onboard sensors to navigate to a target, much like a human would. So imagine you were flying an airplane, and how would you navigate to a target? So a system that does that with extreme precision. So once it sees the target, it knows exactly, you know, what window to fly at, all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's extremely hypothetical, not my specialty at all. I'm just what I'm thinking about. Once the systems were developed, it would be very low cost to reproduce. I mean, have you seen? I'm trying to think who produced it. Have you seen the swarm slaughter bots? Have you seen that video?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you should. It's a great video. It was actually produced. It's about these. There's these little quadcopters which are like artificial intelligence guided, and they release into a certain area, and they self-guide to the target area, and they have a little explosive which blows a hole in your head and kills you. And they're being used by like terrorists and stuff in this video. It was produced by one of the world's leading AI researchers, and it was kind of produced as a warning. It's not real, obviously. Well, not yet. Not that I know of, but it was produced kind of as a cautionary tale of all the bad things that could be done with artificial intelligence controlled weapons. So, but that's kind of actually what I'm thinking, something along those lines, maybe a little bit more realistic, but that kind of guidance system, precision electronic guidance systems that can take a very small payload into just into an enemy area without any risk to the operator. So basically zero risk warfare. Let the machine, let the machine do the fighting for you, and you don't have any risk. So those kind of things I think would require, I think we should have more focus on those types of systems. Obviously, there's huge challenges involved, but that's kind of what I've been thinking about recently, as opposed to just firearms. So I guess this kind of leads you to another discussion. So a huge focus in the 3D printing community and kind of the die firearms community, which is the 3D printing community nowadays, really, is using as few factory parts as possible. It's kind of like a pyramid. At the very top of the pyramid, like the holy grail is not using any firearms components, like, you know, the FGC9. It's a huge focus, and that's a very important direction. But what that direction does is it allows people who have no access to firearms, you know, Europe, Australia, any of these other to completely more totalitarian than we are here, to have access to firearms. The problem is, if you already have firearms, that technology does not increase your capabilities at all. So I'm interested in things that would increase your capabilities beyond just existing firearms.
You know, looking at how our world has grown technologically, you know, if we were asked 2 decades ago, like, you know, what if somebody were to live their life all day, every day with a device that could, you know, stream, you know, entertainment and their bank and their you know, steps and their heartbeat and their diet, and we'd be like, what? That's crazy, you know. And now, I mean, look at us. We have anything and everything we need a click away. I kind of
it's actually pretty limiting if you look at it. The technology is highly underexploited. It's very controlled. There's a lot of stuff that's not being done that could be being done. So it's actually kind of stagnated. Most of the technology has not reached the consumer level. It's highly controlled by large companies, and I'm surprised how few hobbyist level equipment has really gotten into the machine learning field and all of that stuff. It's mostly big companies, and it's not very accessible, which actually has surprised. Looking back at, like, you know, 2013 and what was being done, a great example is quote drones, you know, UAVs. Back in 2015, when I was, you know, playing around with that kind of stuff, there was a huge like online community of people who did die drones. They made their own UAVs, fixed wing aircraft, and there was a lot of resources and stuff. There still actually is nowadays, but it was growing very fast. Now that large commercial companies like DJI have gotten involved, it's really become, and then more regulations have come around. This is just one example of technology. It's really on the small scale, the small like hobbyist scale, there's been very little development. It's mostly big companies. And what that means is that accessibility to open systems that you can do what you want with is now, it's not growing at the pace I'd like to see it growing at.
Do you
and
think
that's true to a lot of different, that's true to a lot of technologies. It's just not, it's not accessible to small users with limited resources. And I think that's intentional, but that's kind of the direction we're going in.
I'd say that's true. Do you think that a lot of that may be by design, the restrictions?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know to what extent, but absolutely. Yeah. So that's, I think, a big problem.
I think sorry, go ahead.
It's just, you just mentioned the growth of technology. I just know that I was involved in robotics stuff. I was involved in UAVs, back 5-6 years ago. And I just, recently was looking into some of it, and not that much has changed. So there was all kinds of stuff being done, and not that much has changed. Like all the people are still using the same microcontrollers. They're still doing the same simple things. There hasn't been like major breakthroughs to the hobbyist level. It's mostly just big companies, and big companies never release their stuff really to the public. It takes a really long time, or it never happens at a scale where you can use it what you want. It's mostly very controlled.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that I was referring more so to like the cell phone, the ease of access. Even though I personally deeply hate the world of consumerism that we're in,
it's just not as useful though as a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, I don't have a cell phone. It's not really. It's very limited, actually. There's just no, I know exactly what you're trying to say, but it's not. If you really look at it, there's not that much more you can do. It's not finding information on the internet nowadays can be difficult, actually, surprisingly, quite difficult to find detailed information. So it's really not it. You have the appearance of having everything at your fingertips, but in reality, you have a very limited menu to choose from.
Yeah, I think that this is. And this could go kind of down a different road, but I personally think that a lot of the restrictions and the false veil of freedom and independence is kind of what's the best way to say it? We're given the what's the word? The false oh my god, I'm drawing a blank.
False perception.
Yeah, thank you. Perception. Jeez, the false perception of freedom and independence because of the accessibility of our basic needs being met quickly. But I think that's actually putting the world, or at least the United States and some other countries, developed countries, in a position of disadvantage, because we can't retain the ability to take care of ourselves and our families, because most people get their groceries from Amazon. Most people get their water from, their government regulated, tallied, faucets. Like, it's illegal to catch rainwater. It's in a lot of places, we're so heavily restricted on some things that I think we're given this, false perception of, control through like the world of consumerism. But I do think that we've grown a lot just from the year 2000 to today. But I also see what you mean, that most of the shit's the same, right? We went from Blackberries to iPhones. Everything's using a lot.
What I'm saying is a lot. So don't get me wrong. So if you want to do anything, if you want to do something, you can actually. It's much harder than it has to be. You have to finding information on. I mean, pick an example. Let's say you want to build a World War II style proximity fuse, right? finding information on how the original ones worked is very, very difficult. Now, can you redesign it in a modern way pretty easily? Absolutely, yes, you can. That's just a very limited example of a lot of information is just not available online, and it's very hard to find with search engines. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm inept at finding stuff. That could be.
No, I think you're right. I think especially things like that, like if
but basically, what I'm saying is
everybody,
the potential that technology has is not nearly being fully exploited, and it's not. There's a huge amount of potential all of this technology to benefit the individual, and a lot of it is not there. It can be there if you really go for it and try to use it and exploit it, but it's not nearly as accessible as it could be.
yeah, I would agree. I think that's a valid point, and I do think a lot of things are kind of being held back from the general populace, especially coming from not just the administration, just anyone in a position of control. They don't want the general populace to even have firearms, let alone the level of technology for self-preservation or a safeguard of tyranny, let's say. Like if every single person here, we got 52 people in here, plus you and I, right? So let's say if every single person were to try to go find information online to build a number 10 blasting cap, every single one of us would have a very difficult time doing that. That's why I love books.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's pretty basic. I mean, I'm not going to say it's basic. I know what you, online information, actually, that kind of stuff, you can find it online, but it's funny. There's so much information that you can find online if you dig for it, and it's all on forums and websites from before 2005 that are still being hosted.
All old forums.
That's where all your good stuff is. Pre-2005, HTML websites. There's some super cool websites on rocket motors, pyrotechnics, that kind of thing. There's like old guys who did it back then. They posted their stuff online for people to read, and they still host their websites, even though they had not been updated in like 15 years or something. So that's honestly where I first found a recipe for flash powder, and I was like, "That's it? Like, really? That's it?" And then pretty basic though, limited practicality.
Very, very basic, but the introduction, that's like the 101 of it's called pyrotechnics, right? And then you can start, finding other cool things like, so for everybody out there listening, from a federal standpoint, let me say this differently. I don't give advice. I'm not a lawyer. I am not a energetics specialist, although we've had people that are very well studied energetics on this program. I don't give advice, and if you take advice from me, you're stealing. So federally speaking, explosives are legal, provided that, and look into your individual state, local laws, regulations, restrictions, rules, and sanctions. But from a federal standpoint, explosives are legal to use in a non-commercial, in a non-commercial way. And as long as they're not transported or stored and they're consumed when you make them, you can do things like learn how to synthesize Comp B and learn how to synthesize, RDX from hexamine tablet.
Yeah, so as long as you stay away from, making dangerous devices. Exactly. It's actually legal in a few states. And legal under federal law. So that's something that a lot of people are confused about. Just because you experiment with explosives does not mean you're an illegal terrorist.
That's correct.
You might be labeled as such, but
especially being that nowadays, even just believing in individual freedom and independence and little government overreach apparently means that you're, a terrorist and an MVE and all that crazy stuff. So, okay, prior to you getting in and printing all these incredible firearms and developing and printing, did you get into it like just assembling ARs, or I know you kind of grew up around it?
No, actually, I knew. So I kind of went over a little bit of this on Saber's stream. Actually, my grandfather kind of got into the assembling ARs thing. So that was kind of my introduction to ARs. And I didn't do too much assembly then, but I type became familiar with them.
Okay. And
that
was
well before printing. well before printing.
Oh, okay,
And
gotcha.
then,
So
so I was familiar with the platform when I got a 3D printer.
okay, and the big question that I missed the first time we brought it up, when you got a printer, I know you mentioned making the mag carriers. Did you get it specifically for firearms related items?
So no, actually. So the reason I bought a printer is because at the time I was making textiles. I was sewing these water protection. However, I mean, they did work. They just weren't very popular.
Really?
Didn't sell any really.
Well,
Yeah,
the audio clipped a little bit. You said hearing protection. So,
yeah, they were waterproof covers made from a nylon. I was sewing them up, stitching them. I designed when I was sewing it up. I still have some around somewhere for covering hearing protection to keep the rain off your electronic hearing protection.
really?
That was the idea. The cheap. I was using the Howard lights back then. That was which are absolutely horrible, by the way. Do not buy one. But
I'm a Peltor guy.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. So I was making covers for the Howard Light Impact Pros, actually is what they were. And I had a friend who was working at a company who was 3D printing. Actually, they're one of the larger competition magazine companies, and they 3D printed all of their magazine followers. They were making stainless steel mags and everything, and they were printing the followers from carbon fiber nylon. And I was like, up until that time, I had never taken 3D printing very seriously. I always thought of it as being one of those stupid little toy technologies people used to make Yoda busts with. But I was like, maybe there's something to this. So I just bought a printer just to have one to play with. And then it kind of went from there. I didn't kind of think about printing an air lower or something. I thought about something just for fun. But I didn't know anything about 3D printing guns at the time. I'd never really seen anything. So it wasn't until I had my printer for a couple months that I decided to get into doing a lower. And the only reason I ever started designing them was because I couldn't find any good files online back in, this was back in early 2020. So there weren't any, this is before the U-bar or anything. There weren't any good files online that actually worked. So.
Dang. So you're only like 2-3 years into this?
Oh yeah. I've only been doing this. I bought my printer February. I got my printer the 1st of February, 2020. So yeah, I've only been doing this for a little bit.
What? That's crazy.
So that's why I said I'm new. I'm new here, just an amateur.
Wow. Well, I mean, you see how quickly like our community picks up. I mean, the firearms.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how far the 3D printing stuff has come. I look back and I'm shocked how primitive things were back in 2020. I mean, they really were bad. It really has come some really long way since there's so many more people have gotten involved too. Since it was kind of a weird little niche thing. And now it's kind of almost mainstream. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but there's a lot of people doing it. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't personally take it as seriously until the last year or so. I still like if shit went down, I'd probably grab a factory like an OEM Glock, But I believe I believe in 3D printing. I believe that if we did ever end up in a situation where, let's just say, there's a magic spell cast amongst the United States and every firearm, poof, just went away, which we know obviously wouldn't happen. I believe that, these will be the liberators, Now, another thing that I found, I don't want to just gloss across that, but we've discussed that on the stream before, like the original liberators in World War II, the pistols. One thing I found really exciting was, you hear a lot about, I guess, what's the term? The official term for 3D printing. Geez.
FDM?
Additive manufacturing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I went in to purchase a magwell for my Glock 48, Glock 43X platform. And I go in and I see it, and it's all, I don't know, probably 6061 aluminum, something like that. And I look at it and I'm like, man, that's nice, but it's $79, right? I'm like, for a magwell, that's crazy. I'll just print one. And I come home and whatever, go about my life for a few weeks. And I found myself back at the gun shop for a Glock 21 project that I was doing. And I go to look at the magwells and I pick it up. And the little piece that goes inside, that typically goes inside the back of the frame. It sticks inside the back little nook in the Glock.
Yeah.
That was no longer aluminum, because on the Glock 48 and 43X, you have to have kind of like I guess it's like a fork, but it's two pieces, and then you stick the screw up in it for it to.
And you expand it and grab in there. Yeah.
Correct. Now I look at the piece that goes up in there. That on the last one that was sitting there was
it was printed.
It was printed. And I was like blown away. It was some type of additive manufacturing method, but I could not make what the product was.
Was it FDM? Was it?
It was a Shield Arms S15. I don't know what kind of product it was, or what kind of filament it was.
Was it a conventional like 3D like Ender style? Was it a fused deposition? Was it a fused filament printer, or was it like a laser sintered powder or something?
It looked like it was like I identified layer lines.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, then they were probably using a cheap printer like we are.
Wow, I mean they were very, very fine, like extremely fine.
Yeah, they were probably using they're probably using a Prusa or maybe I doubt they're using an industrial machine for something like that. Yeah. You'll find little printed parts in actual products. It is funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, like I was excited, and then I was also pissed off that it was still $80. But I thought it was cool, and it's advancement. Even though printing is a slow, laborious process that's only good for certain things, it does fill a void for some things in some companies. Now, the good news is that I happen to know somebody that may know somebody in that company, so I'm going to actually contact the owner, and I'm going to get some real info on
that part.
That is. Yeah,
it's funny. So, yeah,
I'll report back to you guys on that.
Yeah, because there's like you've seen stuff and things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they do selective laser sintering with nylon, and they get very detailed parts that way. And I actually have one of their little sauce holders they printed. The little.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's over in the drawer. I could grab it, but it's pretty detailed. Impressive technology, and the printers I don't think cost that much nowadays. I think they're like $40,000 is what they said. Which isn't too horrible. But yeah, it's definitely becoming a lot more common.
Yeah, it's I found it kind of cool. Now, because I know I don't want to take too much more of your time. Let's go back to just a few more things on the lightning round, and then we'll.
We got distracted there, didn't we?
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. This is why we do it. I love the just organic conversation. Now, is there a Miss Hoffman?
No.
No Miss Hoffman Tactical? Okay. Any candidates for Miss Hoffman Tactical?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
It's just a distraction anyway. Don't even pay attention.
Way too time consuming.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you were to like straight up like Boog, WROL, a world without rule of law, and you had to throw on a type of camouflage, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, gosh! I don't have any camouflage. I would say probably one of the thermal cloak type setups, most likely. Ooh, I mean, nice. I really need to. I've looked into a lot. I haven't decided to buy. I need to buy one of those just to try it out.
Yeah. I'm down. I actually am toying with the idea of my next patch being an IR patch. Something like that. I think would be cool. Okay, now, what are Hoffman's vices?
Can't think of any right away. Whistling, maybe. I have a terrible habit of irritating whistling.
Really?
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, when I look at you, I see somebody that's probably like very proud of productivity. Would you agree with that?
I would like to be proud of productivity. I can't say that I am. It would be nice to be there.
I would guess that you probably don't enjoy wasting a bunch of time. If I were to guess.
Well, it depends what I'm doing, but normally no.
Oh, there's a question here. Question for Hoff. Does he sleep in his shop?
I don't actually. No, I don't sleep in the shop. The plastic fumes aren't good for you, especially when you're sleeping. So I try to avoid that. Even though I do have exhaust equipment, you only can get out so much.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. I was wondering why Tame the Bang was just a little dizzy on stream, and he's just printing nylon off in the air all over the place.
Yeah, I think that they are long-term exposure to plastic fumes can be a problem. So try to avoid it, guys.
So as far as vices like candy, booze.
I like ice cream. I'll admit I am a huge fan of ice cream. You could almost call me an ice cream connoisseur. There's a lack of well, that's not true. I'm way over top there. I would like to be though. So yeah, definitely, absolutely. If I can get ice cream, I'll eat it if it's good quality. But finding good quality ice cream is very.
What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it depends what I had last. It depends what I had last. Highly varying.
Yeah. I think Dynexus meant hi Tim. Unless he's on MySpace.
No, she meant Tom, and that's because I was trolling. Who was I trolling? Who are we trolling for parts kits? I just lost it. How foolish am I? I was trolling High Point. I don't know why I couldn't think of High Point. I was trolling High Point about the parts kits thing. I don't know if you saw that. I had mentioned them on Instagram, seeing why they didn't sell parts kits, and they responded. They called me Tom in their response. They said sorry, Tom. That's why they misspelled it. Then I did a screenshot. That's where Tom comes from. So that actually has a background. There's history there. That's
you got some folks.
That's not a type.
You got some folks in here that knew. They're like, High Point. Yeah.
That's awesome. They understand.
That's awesome. Chocolate or vanilla, just in general, candy, stuff like that.
Chocolate. We're getting into some pretty strange questions here.
Feet or I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to kind of just get to know somebody a little bit better. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Oh, this is a good question. P80 rails?
I've only used the printed only, the DD19. If that's what they're even called. But yeah, I've not ever used the Polymer 80 rails.
Okay. Have you ever built an 80% frame?
No, the only 80% I've ever been in possession of was an AR-15, 80% lower, and I promptly broke it without milling it. So
on purpose?
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah. I'm sure you would have, posted a video of that, and
I think I did. Yeah.
It
was removed. It was removed from YouTube. It's still on Odyssey though. But yeah.
Oh, nice. So I have a few P80s laying around.
Oh my!
If I were to send you one, and I mean, of course, you'd have to, if I were to find a way for enough people to lawfully send you, stuff, would you take the time to build one?
Absolutely, I would enjoy breaking it. I would build it and then break. It would be a fun process.
So you would actually build it and run it to failure?
Well, I don't know if I'd run it to failure. I might run it a little bit, and then we'll see how far it can go. I don't know. It's an 80%er though. I couldn't have one in my possession and try to keep up my reputation. That would be
it would actually be really cool though.
It'd be a really good experience.
Yeah, it'd be a good experience, but it would be great content of you disrespectfully destroying it, on,
But with how rare they might be getting here, I might get a lot of hate over that.
But it will get a lot of interactions, a lot of interactions.
I think Ralph broke a Polymer 80 frame recently. Actually, I saw a photo on Twitter. Yeah, it was a broken 80%. I don't know if it was a P80 or what it was, but it was a broken 80%er. Yeah.
Hopefully, it wasn't a Strike 80.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, the Strike 80s, get this. Strike 80s, just the bare frame, are going for $5 to $6. sometimes $600 to $800.
I don't understand. That's just ridiculous. Wow. I mean,
Because
for that kind of money, you could have one printed on like, you know, a selective laser sintering or something. Just print one up. Just, you know,
I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Crazy. It makes no sense at all. So Strike Industries created this incredible frame. It really is an incredible frame, and very little failures. If you run like OEM parts or good quality parts, I got one over there that's just like a monster. I love it. And man, they pulled it and they stopped producing it. So people went crazy trying to get them. So it's just fair market price, whatever people are willing to pay for it. And it's
That's
nuts.
ridiculous. Wow. Yeah. Just for a
that's
plastic frame.
Strike. Yes. For a plastic frame. And not only a plastic frame that was designed by Strike, but produced by Polymer 80.
Oh,
the jigs from Polymer 80. So people are like, "Oh my God, this is such a cool frame," but it's just a Polymer 80. But anyway, I know I've taken enough time from you, man. Anything else you want to end on? Any dad advice? Any advice for new printers or anything?
That's a great question. My gosh, I guess I'm not very good with speedy answers to stuff. Don't use cheap PLA. I guess maybe would be a good one.
Very good one. And don't print anything in silk, guys. I don't know why, but well, that's not true. Don't print things like firearm frames in silk. I get a lot of folks that hit me up like, "Yo, what do you think of this?" And I'm not the printer guy to hit up, but of course I'll help anyone. Most people.
Silk is not a structural grade PLA.
Man, last question. I'm sorry. 9mm or 40 caliber?
Well, 9mm. I mean, nothing against 40 caliber. I've never even shot a 40 caliber, but nothing against it. But 9mm is as effective as it needs to be. It's lower cost, more rounds in your magazine. I mean, it's all around. It's the standard for a reason. So
yeah, everything against 40 caliber.
Okay, I don't know anything about it other than that it's not 9mm.
Yeah, no, I know. It's 40 caliber. There's like this thing between us that like the viewers and all that, where we got a few guys that are diehard 40 guys, and they just they won't give it up. So we like to remind them how ineffective it is, and that it was made for women and small children. And
it's good to know.
Like that.
Yeah, there's only one point I'll really stick to in a very diehard way, and that is A2 pistol grips. That's something I will not let pass.
They are the best, the most ergonomic. I'm just joking.
Oh my gosh. How do I get out of here? Yeah, no, the fact that they still mold them is ridiculous. I need to find out what company is making them and like talk to them about it. At some point, they have to replace that mold, and when they do, they need to destroy the old one and make some new inserts. Just improve it a little bit. That's an obsolete design. It's horrible. It's not ergonomic for anybody. Supporters of the A2 grip do it for ulterior motives. Who knows why, but it's not because they actually like the grip. So yeah, A2 grip is a huge problem. And I've collected a massive collection myself, and I try to pull them out of the environment or wherever I can so that I can properly destroy them. So
yeah, I mean, it's A2 grips have been designed mostly the same way since the inception of the AR platform.
Well, they used to be better, actually. They used to be better, and then they added that little thing that bites in your hand at the front end, and then they left it there in the worst possible configuration, basically for eternity. I just don't. It doesn't make much sense. It's strange that they include one with every single budget parts kit. If you're selling a budget parts kit, a little tip to all the companies out here who probably aren't even watching, if you're selling a budget parts kit and you are tempted to include an A2 grip, just don't include any grip at all and let the customer print or buy their own.
Yeah, no grip needed.
Yeah, just don't give a grip and let someone else grab one. Including A2 grip is just putting that chunk of plastic, which is probably going to eventually end up in the oceans or in the landfill, in that kit for no good reason. It's Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Either provide a quality grip or no grip at all. Let the customer provide it. So
I agree.
I provide no grip at all in my kits.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that we should all really start to look at, what we need to do collectively as a community. Just start donating A2 grips to the local homeless shelters,
Mhm.
and kind of start improving their lives.
I was thinking maybe A2 grip artwork. So like sculptures, full life-size sculptures made from A2 grips. Who knows?
I like that.
Thermal weld them together. Yeah.
I like my AR, any kind of AR, from shorties to a 20-inch M16 style AR with as straight of a grip as possible.
I agree. So I don't go all the way vertical, but I like much more vertical than A2s. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Just
just
because that angle is just not. I mean, if that angle is there, if you want to shoot like that's a chicken wing angle.
like a traditional rifle, right?
Exactly. But
it's-
for a modern rifle, it's way too.
What about sanding off the finger groove?
So I normally use a hacksaw on a 5 build actually. Hacksaw on a finger improvement. It's still a horrible grip, but it at least you don't get horrible finger cramps after a couple minutes of holding it. So it makes it operational for maybe 30, 40 minutes.
So that was interesting. For some reason, it may have been the cord or something. It was clipping a little bit, but I think what I gathered from it is hacksaw off the nub and then use a file to smooth it out.
I have to get a better microphone. It's on the list. I just haven't gotten to it. Yeah.
I mean, aside from that, you sound great. So awesome. Well, with that, remind the people here where they can find you on the interwebs.
Yes, so Hoffman Tactical on all the main social media sites worth being on. That means not TikTok, but the other social media sites.
Yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, do not download TikTok. Do not feed the TikTok all of your private information.
Well, I'm thinking maybe I should be on TikTok. I don't know. I've just been thinking about it, but
yeah, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Lots of evil in this world, and yeah, I think that's one of the many evils. But with that, we'll go ahead and close out the stream, guys, and I'll close the stream.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much, Hoffman Tactical, for coming on. And guys, make sure you go support them. Find them on Instagram, find them on the tweeters, on everything. And as I always do, I'll close my stream the same. Rule number 1 is to be kind. Make sure that you're kind in everything that you do. Every time that you have an interaction with somebody, you have an opportunity to be kind. You can have a huge impact on their day.
One exception, though, is the A2 grip people. Just crush them, grind them into the grip.
Yeah.
That's one exception. Yeah. Everybody else, just absolutely fine.
They don't deserve life. I'm just kidding. Rule number 2.
We are trolling you guys, so yeah.
Rule number 2 is hate A2. I'm just kidding. Rule number 2 is live a life of care, compassion, contribution, give to others. When you give, you bless others, you become blessed, because a hand that's open to give is open to receive. We also know that the only way to combat evil is with good men skilled in violence. So make sure that you're becoming as highly skilled in violence as you possibly can be, and be safe, be dangerous, and keep that thing on you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Thank you so much, Hoffman Tactical. And thank you to the viewers for coming and hanging out. Shout out Goonbeam. See you guys.